Yeah. Okay, we're going to begin running our video sewer inspection. We've cleared the line, and we're going to install the camera down the 4-inch ABS plastic mainline cleanout and attempt to get all the way out to the sewer. I don't believe we'll have an issue now that we've got the line clear. Okay, this is our 4-inch ABS plastic mainline cleanout again. And we're running in. I believe we're going to transition right away, probably to vitreous clay somewhere right in here. More than likely with all the root intrusion. We will see. Got to turn. Fittings look okay. Still got ABS. Running in. Those joints look to be in fair condition. Some of them aren't seated quite as much as I'd like. When they glue them in, sometimes they don't push them in as far as they should. These joints look to be okay as far as I can see. You know what? I'm going to put our monitor counter on real quick. Oops. That's that. Okay, we got our monitor counter on. It'll show up on the flash drive as well. Now, we got some root intrusion here. We have some pretty thick root intrusion here. We've got a break right here. You can see the roots coming in. You can see right at the top, at about the 3 o'clock area, that joint separated right there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop for a moment. I'm going to go locate and mark that out. Okay. Now, Mark this area out, and we are in the ivy, just as you're walking up the walkway to the house, just straight ahead over the retaining wall. And I've put a spot of orange paint, and I'll mark it with an orange flag as well, 1 foot 11 inches deep. And now we'll run in some more, and we'll take a look at the other joints. So that area has to be repaired. That has to be excavated. I believe that might be a trenchless pipe. We're going to find out here in a minute. It does look like black plastic. Let's see if we have more joints. And we do have a lot more joints. So it may not be trenchless piping. It may just be ABS plastic. We have a big gap on the top of this joint right here. We'll go down and we'll take a look at some more. We're at 32. We'll see if there's several joints that need to be repaired. Maybe it'd be better just to pull a trenchless section instead of trying to dig up numerous areas. That joint's offset just a little tiny bit. It does look like it is Schedule 40 ABS plastic, more than likely. We got a long length of ABS. That's in a coupling, and that joint appears to be in fair condition. I'm going to make a considerable drop right here, pretty steep drop. Make another turn. We'll check it on the way back too. We've got to push kind of hard to get through the turns. Those joints look to be in fair condition. I don't know about this one right here. That one's offset pretty bad. That one's shifting probably because of the tree roots. That should be pretty much flush. I shouldn't be hitting the face of it like that. Shouldn't protrude. Okay, and then we run to the 6-inch vitreous clay. We're at 63 feet to the vitreous clay. There. Okay, now we're in the vitreous clay. Tough to get through the turn. Try and push a little harder. Now we're in. That joint appears to be in fairly good condition. Okay, we gotta run some water. Would you mind turning on the water in the master again? We have that water running. It's got to be cold water.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you. See if we can push it all the way out. Yeah, these tree roots want to move everything around.
Well, they're looking for water.
Yeah, it's typical.
Blame them. That's the way nature works.
Yeah, exactly. Mine's terrible. I got to replace my sewer. It's been bad for the last 6 years I've been in there. I've had to clear it probably about 8 or 10 times. I have to tear up the street though and everything. Just haven't had the time to do it. It's easier for me to clear it and come back in the house. I'm done. So, in the places where you're feeling like it's it needs to be addressed. Is it make more sense to dig it up and repair those, or run a sleeve, or what are the
Pull a
options?
trenchless.
Pull a trenchless. So
Yeah.
that's an inner sleeve. Is that what that is?
No, it's a trenchless piece of piping. I can show you after. It's a very thick piece of piping. A sleeve is just like a cloth sock soaked in epoxy, and it's a much thinner liner.
Okay.
The trenchless piping is very, very heavy, very thick, very flexible. We can take this piping and bend this thing 90 degrees, and it will not crack, will not break. Once it gets into the line, it has a memory, and it'll go back flat. And it's just a lot better than the liner, and less expensive unless you're going in the street.
But
Once yeah.
So that gets pushed down in there, or no? You have to dig in and.
What we do is we would dig here, and we would dig down there to wherever we see where it's good. If I hit another couple of joints, we might want to go all the way to that point. It just all depends where it's at. And then pull the trenchless from here all the way down to there. Instead of digging 3-4 holes on the hillside, which is going to be a lot more expensive for labor intensive trying to do that, and then you're only getting a repair, and it's not going to hold that long. There's no way to guarantee that. A trenchless piece of piping is one solid piece of piping. You have 20-foot lengths, and you fuse them together at 500 degrees. They're fused together, and I've run over them with my truck.
So it's a sleeve that basically runs the entire thing from the tube dig
Yeah,
point.
it's not a sleeve. It's an actual thick piece of pipe, and I'll show it to you after.
But it goes inside this current piece of pipe?
What we do is we run a steel cable through here, from the hole we dig here to the hole we dig there, and we fuse. This is like a little football. It's aluminum, but it's got a piece of like rubberized plastic, a combination of rubber and plastic. And we fuse the pipe onto that. Hydraulically, we pull that thing up the hill at about 5,000 psi, and it's got fins on it. As it goes through there, it breaks the old pipe out into the earth. It just pushes it out into the earth and pulls the same diameter pipe through.
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, it's amazing.
That's really
good
awesome.
Technology. The gentleman that came up with it owned Rescue Rooter, and now he's not doing anything but enjoying himself playing tennis and drinking a lot.
Right.
That's about it.
That's pretty amazing. I hadn't heard of that.
Yeah, you can go on YouTube or anything like that, and you can look it up.
Good news is it just went generic.
Trenchless sewer, and they'll show you.
Good news is it just went generic, and it's cheap.
Okay, we're in.
Yeah, that would be the good news.
Dream.
Okay, we're now in the city sewer. We can shut that water off, Jeff. Okay. We're good now. Then I'll pull back and really take a good look at it. Let me get I'll get the liner, which is a sleeve, and I'll get a piece of the trenchless, and I'll show you the different outfit. Take care. I'll bring it out there. Show you guys right now. Just give me 2 seconds. Oh, just there. Want to take a look? Okay, what you have in here now is ABS plastic. This is ABS plastic. See how tinny it is? Yeah. Kind of like a Coke can. Like brittle. It's just kind of brittle. It's not all that thick.
It's a larger gated pipe.
Oh, it's larger. Yes, it's larger. But same piping.
Got it.
This is the trenchless piping that we pull through. This is a joint that's fused at 500 degrees. I mean, you can hear it, and you can see how thick it is. Like I said, yes. We've taken this, we had to dig a hole in Pacific Palisades 21 feet down, and then make a 90-degree turn to go back up underneath the property into the basement. And this pipe will actually bend 90 degrees, go through, and then once it gets into that line, it just settles down. It's got a memory to it. You have to heat it to bend? No, not that easy, but with a steel cable and hydraulically, it's going to pull right through. And what it does is sometimes you have these dips and bellies in the piping, we have water sitting in the piping, this will actually pull them out. It'll pull straight. So you've got the right grade and everything. It's phenomenal. This is a liner. Generally, we'll use this in the street a lot because it's less expensive. It's not as good as doing this. We do the trenchless in the street too. We have to, if it's to a point that it's so bad we can't even get the liner through. There's a cloth top, pretty much, that's soaked in epoxy, and we blow it up. We put a bladder in it. Once we blow it into the line, and we let it cure for 2 hours, and it becomes a good, smooth, solid piece of pipe, which will hold the joints in place and keep the roof out. This maybe you might have a probably a install warranty at the most. This does. I don't know what some of the numbers are. I'm not a gear. Yeah, they got 250 years old. But I mean, plastic's not going to deteriorate like that. This stuff really deteriorate either. It's the joints that get out. The roots will get up against the joints and they'll break the joints. No. The roots will get up against the joints and they'll snap the joints. And that's important.
Okay?
Yeah.
I don't want to take up too much of your time, but I do want
No, we appreciate the information. It's not, never hurts. No, it's good stuff. Good for me.
Okay. All right, here we go. We're going to start pulling back up through the line from the city sewer. Now we'll be able to see the joints much clearer. You see the water running through the city sewer right now.
Yep.
And as we pull back, you see the water's pretty much dissipated going through this line. Have a little tiny trickle going through. Those joints look to be in good condition down by the saddle area in the street, which is very important because if they're not, that gets very expensive to try and fix. That joint looks good. If this 6-inch vitreous clay looks good in the street, you're in pretty good shape. That joint's got a tiny offset but still looks good. No major breaks, no major root intrusions. That joint looks good. That joint looks good. Most of the time when we see something, you'll see major cracks. And then we transition to the ABS plastic right here. So we're out 64 feet. You want me to mark this down there? Probably wouldn't hurt.
Up to you. If it makes sense for you to have that, then...
Wouldn't hurt, and we'll take a look at the rest of them instead of having to try and run back out again. See if I can locate this area.
Should you start from this?
Huh?
Should you start from that point?
I gotta start from.
Opening with you.
I gotta start from the bottom.
Okay.
I know.
You think maybe it's doing a big U-turn coming back?
Just kidding, because you had to go all the way around to end up right there. It's a pretty nice sitting area, huh?
What's that?
This is a nice sitting area.
Oh, it is. It's very...
houses.
Huh?
He goes to those houses. It's nice.
It is. Is he building up the other ones too? Yeah. Must be.
Another guy.
Hector?
Yeah, Hector's staying. Hector wants to stay, Hector's staying.
Hector's...
And we talked to her.
Yeah,
I didn't
oh,
talk
good.
about this, but I gave him a general area, and,
Good.
right?
Yeah, he's such a good guy.
Exactly. But it would have to work out with trash days. Probably today or yesterday. Down the school though. Like one time going down like I mean I don't mind doing it, I don't think she's tough but not that kind of like she's strong, like she'll go through like an hour of body fat that I would pass out in, you know, whatever.
Okay. Mark that area out. And it's only 4 foot 5 inches deep even at the sidewalk.
Is it really?
That's not bad. Most of them I get are at least 7 or 8 feet. Okay, we've marked this area at the sidewalk with an orange flag at 4 foot 5 inches deep. Gonna begin pulling back from here. Take a look at all the joints. Those joints look really flush and they're seated deep. They were pushed into the fitting nice and deep. Make another turn. That joint doesn't look bad. That joint looks to be fairly good condition. That joint looks to be fairly good. That joint looks to be fairly good.
So he sits down there, it's only 4
That joint is not seated in real deep,
It's sitting on top of the
and that appears to have a
He didn't say where.
rubber coupling, and it's separated. It's separated quite a bit. Right now, the pipe should be in all the way to this point on both sides. So it's coming apart. If it comes apart a little bit further, it's just going to pop out of that coupling. Because right now it's pulled back. It's out almost about an inch, about a half inch on each side. It's pulled back. The roots are probably pushing against the pipe and pulling them apart.
That we're looking at in the whole thing?
Pardon?
This is the worst part of the damage, or no?
Well, the other joint is where it's just completely apart, and we had huge roots growing into the joint.
So there's 3 spots.
Yeah, there's about 3, maybe 4 spots. I mean, I've seen a lot worse. This isn't terrible. But sooner or later, you're going to have to do something with it. You might be able to live with it for a short time, but you're going to have a major issue with the one joint, especially up here, where that's separated. So that joint's pretty good. That's where it's seated nice. And nice and deep into the fitting, and it's not offset. See this one on the top? You can see a gap up at the top, especially at about the 11 o'clock area. I don't know if you can see that on the top.
Yep.
It's got a gap in there. It shouldn't have a gap in it like that. But again, I've seen worse. Right there is really bad. This is the one joint that we marked up here. This is really broken. This is just completely separated right here. See this whole piece is separated there, and it's broken back in here where the roots are growing through. But that's just up here at the top.
And does the root thing allow you to use either technique, or I mean, I know you're recommending one over the other, but I'm just curious, like, or is that?
It's less expensive to do the trenchless.
Yep.
It's a lot more money per foot to do the liner. When we get into the street, I try to use the liner, because then it gets less expensive because of all the city fees and everything else. You shoot that in, and you're good for 10 to 12 years.
So the trenchless one you recommend is actually just a cheaper way to do it as well.
Yeah, a lot more costly that way.
Oh.
Oh yeah, more cost effective.
It's better and cheaper. Oh well.
Oh yeah. From
What
here,
else do you need to know? Right? Yeah.
From about here, you've only got about 40 feet. So from this point to the sidewalk, you've got about $3,800. If you were to line it, you got close to about $5,400. And this is better.
And that's when you. I mean, I know these are numbers you're just pulling out of, but that's soup to nuts. That's the whole
Yeah, that's what
project.
they are. That's what it is for a 40-foot line. Is $3,800. For a 40-foot liner, it's about $5,400 plus permit fees.
But that when you give that price, there's also the work getting it done, or that's the work.
No, that's everything. That's
installed.
the only additional, like I just said, is permit fees.
Got it.
Permit fees, I give an average. You probably got about $500 to $700 in permit fees. Normally, it'll run $500, and maybe even a little bit lower. It could run $450. What it is it's time. We have a 4-hour window for an inspection. I got to have myself or another guy sitting here sometimes for 4 hours, and that's the time plus the permit fee, and that's it. and plus the 3800 if you pull the trench this way. And that's a brand new line. The vitreous clay in the street, that's always my biggest concern, because from the sidewalk area out 20 feet to the middle of the street, you're looking at about $9 grand, maybe 10. So that's in great shape.
Great.
So yes, that's good. That's good. Okay, right here we got some more offset a little bit in that joint, but that would also be taken care of at the same time. I would take it all the way back to the wall, which right here is back to the wall. So you're in a straight piece of pipe where you would tie onto.
Right, so you would have no
Right there.
seams from there down to the...
Correct. Yeah, you have nothing. You have no joints. You have no seams. All the fittings that you had where the turns are, this stuff will pull right through it, and it'll pull some of the turn out of it.
That's amazing.
It'll curve it. Yeah, it is amazing.
Look, if it's a luxury, but if it's cheaper than
Oh,
doing
these
the other way,
joints
then
look
it's fine.
good.
Then it's just want to,
Yeah.
I mean, you got to there's a repair, the base repair cost.
Well,
The other one's
and it's
more,
also
right?
cost over
concludes
time.
our video
This is
series.
gonna last 100 years.
I understand, but I'm
Yeah.
talking in terms of this sale.
Yeah.
How much of it's an investment, how much of it's what
Right,
it's right?
right.